Austin Butler's career seems to have really taken off this year. After getting critical acclaim for his performance in Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, he is now on his way to star in Dune's second part alongside Timothée Chalamet. Turns out, unlike his time on Elvis where he didn't see his family for 3 years, his time on Dune sounds much more fun. But who's responsible for the good time? Let's get right into it. First up, Austin Butler got close to Dune's star while on set. Austin Butler is undoubtedly in demand right now, in large part because of his super convincing turn as Elvis. So, now the 31-year-old actor has been keeping busy with a few intriguing forthcoming projects, including a significant role in Denis Villeneuve's much-awaited Dune Part 2, while fans wait to see whether he'll be able to nab any major nominations this award season. Butler also recently explained why he and Timothée Chalamet, the franchise's lead, became close during the filming of the sequel. With his first Dune film, Denis Villeneuve accomplished the seemingly impossible by turning the acclaimed book into a box office and critical success. That's why everyone is waiting to see what he does with Part 2, which includes both amazing stars and new cast members like Florence Pugh, Christopher Walken, and Austin Butler. The actor spoke candidly about his close friendship with Chalamet during a recent appearance on the Happy Sad Confused podcast, where he revealed that they bonded immediately. Not to mention, like most of Hollywood, Butler's a huge fan of his work, though the reason they bonded so immediately was that they're the same age. They stuck together, and he'd really enjoyed his time with the actor. That's all there is to it. Austin Butler joined the Dune family in Part 2 as one of the new performers, but it appears that he and Timothée Chalamet hit it off right away. But let us warn you, when the follow-up hits theaters in the fall of 2024, don't anticipate them to be acting like best friends. Up next, Butler's put in the work for his role in Dune Part 2. Given how immensely popular Timothée Chalamet and Austin Butler are right now, his remarks to Happy Sad Confused host Josh Horowitz are bound to go viral online. Even though the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood actor was careful to keep his cards close to his chest, there's a lot of buzz around Dune Part 2. In fact, Austin Butler made no mention of the plot or the manner in which he will be portraying Feyd-Rautha Harkonnen. He did, however, discuss some of the preparation that went into making his character come to life on the big screen. Turns out, he has to train a lot, for 4 months to be specific, so that he could be prepared for whatever they threw at him. He worked hard to get himself in a place where he could seem like a physically imposing presence, and then trained a lot in Budapest as well once he knew what was going on. Austin Butler appears to have had a physical makeover for Dune Part 2, gaining muscle to better portray Feyd-Rautha's physical appearance. Fans of his work will understand that this is nothing new for the actor, who lived his whole life playing the main role of Elvis, changing both physically and vocally in the process. It looks like 2023 could be a big year for Austin Butler, so we'll have to see how it all turns out. Coming up, Butler reveals an amazing audition story. Butler has shared the unexpected tale of how he came to land the part. When the topic of his future appearance in Dune Part 2 came up, he confessed that he didn't even need to audition for the part. The filmmaker told Butler that, "I'm going to dream of this," after having lunch with him in Los Angeles and discussing the movie briefly with him. Austin explained that he and the director were both in town at the time when Villeneuve asked him out for coffee. That's when they hit it off and learned how similar their approach was to make a movie. Villeneuve's dream must have been good because a week later, he contacted Butler and asked him to join the rest of the cast in Arrakis. Following up, why is Austin Butler perfect to play Feyd-Rautha? In the Dune world, Feyd-Rautha Harkonnen is an important figure. The character is the nephew of Stellan Skarsgård's evil Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, who was portrayed by Sting in the original David Lynch film adaptation in 1984. Feyd-Rautha is a cunning and talented fighter who, as the heir to House Harkonnen, is a sinister counterpart to Timothée Chalamet's major role as Paul Atreides. This enables viewers to consider how the young hero's journey might have developed if he had thought of acquiring power over everything else. In addition to his recent work in Elvis, Butler has a lot of experience, but his most recent performance could also serve as a guide for why the actor would be so able to successfully portray the renowned Feyd-Rautha. Butler pushed himself to the limit in order to express the toll Elvis's existence took on his body, which demonstrated how thoroughly he is willing to commit to the physicality of performance. Any action role demands a certain amount of physicality, but Feyd-Rautha is is a character who has made fighting a core aspect of who he is, which calls for a certain level of self-assurance and extensive training that cannot be faked. Butler was also given the opportunity by Elvis to portray the part of a decent individual who fell victim to fame and money. He can take that goodness away from the guy in Dune Part 2 and drive him to the extreme brink. Not to mention, he will also need to be able to hold his own against his older brother, Glossu Rabin, played by Dave Bautista, who is a much more physically imposing figure. Moving on, Dune 2's added many new faces to the cast. The first film does a masterful job of setting up the mythology of Frank Herbert's groundbreaking 1965 novel, centering on House Atreides and their arduous journey to Arrakis, the desert planet from Dune. Dune Part 2 aims to broaden the scope of the original installment by adding more complexity and concurrently introducing new characters. Although Villeneuve had always envisioned translating Herbert's first Dune novel as a two-part series, a sequel wasn't officially announced until a few days into the first movie's first week at the box office. The film's opening weekend haul of more than $40 million at North American box offices and solidified its status as a smash hit with viewers, despite the ongoing epidemic and direct-to-streaming debut at the time of its release. Cast members urged viewers to support the movie throughout Dune's press tour because if a sequel wasn't allowed, the story arcs of their characters would remain incomplete, and we really want to see Timothée and Zendaya get together. Denis Villeneuve has a history of directing complex, vast productions with A-list actors, as seen by his sci-fi filmography. For Dune Part 2, the majority of the original cast is back, along with casting director Francine Maisler. Villeneuve is well positioned to direct a blockbuster sci-fi sequel because a significant portion of the world building from Herbert's book has already been constructed. And now, we'll get to meet the new cast in their new roles, so let's have a look at what we know now. First off, Florence Pugh as Princess Irulan Carino. One of the first actors to be mentioned for a supporting part in Dune Part 2 was everyone's favorite, Florence Pugh. As early as March of 2022, rumors about Pugh's involvement started to circulate, and now we know that she'll play Princess Irulan Carino, the eldest child of Emperor Shaddam Carino IV. Irulan, a historian in Herbert's book, traces Paul Atreides' ancestry in Dune. Her academic achievements are highlighted in the novel's epigraphs, which give the events of the Imperium important perspective and complexity. Paul Atreides makes a marriage proposal to Princess Irulan near the book's end, which would make him the Imperium's emperor. For a variety of reasons, Pugh is a suitable fit for the role of Princess Irulan. She has previous expertise portraying noble people thanks to her roles in Lady Macbeth and Outlaw King. Not to mention, she was nominated for an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress for her amazing work in Little Women with Timothée Chalamet. There is definitely chemistry between Florence Pugh and Timothée Chalamet, and don't expect this intimacy in the sequel because their union is more about politics than it is about love. And not to mention, Chani is the real object of Paul's genuine affection. Up next, Christopher Walken as Emperor Shaddam Carino IV. In Dune Part 2, Christopher Walken portrays Emperor Shaddam Carino IV, who is Pugh's dad, and is the last of the Carino Padishah emperors, a title that is transferred to the Atreides Empire. In the story, House Atreides is given control of the desert planet of Arrakis by Emperor Shaddam Carino IV, who also serves as ruler of the known universe, which is a whole new level of responsibility if you ask us. But House Atreides, unaware of the Emperor's plan for their demise, departs their native planet Caladan at his instruction, and to counteract their power, the Emperor concocts a plan with House Harkonnen to cripple, sabotage, and lay siege to the newly seized city of Arrakis. Considering Walken's extensive history of playing villains, he is a perfect option for the Emperor in Dune Part 2. Finally, Léa Seydoux as Lady Margot Fenring. Léa Seydoux's appointment as Lady Margot Fenring in Dune Part 2 is one of the more unexpected decisions. Seydoux has a large filmography thanks to her involvement in the Bond and Mission Impossible series, as well as her iconic parts in *Inglourious Basterds* and *Midnight in Paris*. Count Casimir Fenring, the wife of Lady Margot Fenring, has a far larger role than she does in Herbert's original Dune novel. Villeneuve and casting director Francine Maisler may add another character alteration to Dune Part 2 because the casting for Count Fenring has not yet been made public. Given Villeneuve's public declaration that he wanted to add more women to the plot in Dune, it's probable that Lady Margot Fenring and Count Casimir Fenring may be combined into just one person. If not, Seydoux' casting is still noteworthy since it probably means a larger role for a female character who was mostly absent from Herbert's original writing. That's a wrap for this video. Are you excited to see Butler's character in Dune Part 2? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.